Okay, now what we want to do is we want to take a look at dealing with some more complex surfaces and see how we can import them into Unity uh, at the highest quality possible. So uh, let's take all of this, and I notice I've got these different colors and these different surfaces. I'm going to take all of this, and I'm going to export it uh, into SketchUp so I can see kind of what it looks like. And actually, make sure I don't have that. Yeah. And notice I've created an incredibly dense mask. Now, this avoids smaller than is an important thing because if I get too small down here in this little corner, I'll end up getting little dimples in here. So I need to be careful. So that's why I put that in here. This divide larger than 1, if I make it 5, you can see that makes it a little more. So every time, if I make it 5, for instance, you'll see that I'm going to start to get these little slivers. I'll get some very little smoothing errors, some problem smoothing errors around there. A lot of times it's not really going to be too big of a problem, but I'm just want to right now just want to show you how what we can do to make this absolutely work at the highest quality. Now notice that we're looking at 42,000 polygons. Now why that's interesting, this number here is interesting, is it turns out that Unity can only handle 65K per object. So keep that in mind. Although we do have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 objects here. So I'm going to hit this OK. And now I'm going to go into SketchUp. And I'm going to open that file in SketchUp. And you'll see that looks very nice. If I look at the hidden lines there, you'll see that, you know. So what I want to do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to use some colors, some name colors. And actually, let's group this. Actually, let's give this a color. Oops. Okay, here we go. We'll remove that magenta color. And then I'll right click and I'll say group. Make group. And it takes a little while to do that. Now I've got that done. So now I put that color on here. I'm going to come in here. I'm going to choose the same thing. Make colors and then group it. And do the same with these. Choose a color. And group it. And I'll come down here and choose another color for this. And group it. Okay, so now I'm going to export this 3D, actually I can't export this, export the selected file. Export 3D model, and here's what I'm going to export. Place that, and let's go to export now, and we're done. So let's go into 3D Coat. Let's import this guy. Okay, we've got all our different colors in here. We're going to import. Now notice, look, only one came in. So while I have all of my objects, here's my paint objects. I can turn them all off if I want to. I only got one map, so that's not good. But assuming that's what it is, we're going to show you how to fix that in a second. But what I want to do is I want to show you how perfect that space, that surface is, and that surface will import in perfectly into Unity. The problem is, of course, it's way, way, way too big. So let's go back into SketchUp to figure out how we can bring these in at a different, make sure that bring them as a separate object. So the way to do that is I'm going to go in here and instead of using named colors, I want to use something with actually has a tile to it, like say, let's say wood. Wood's a good example. So I'm going to take this, apply that wood to that surface. Okay. And grab this one, I'll buy the second wood. Okay, and this one, let's give this green. And these, we'll use this very last color wood. So we have, as you can see, we have 4 different colors woods. Now I'm going to take this and export it, 3D model, and there as an OBJ, and it's exporting again. Okay, that's done. And let's go back into 3D Coat. And let's import that same file. Here again, here's a wood bamboo. Here's our different woods. And now when we import, you're going to see that we're actually going to go and we're going to grab all the different texture maps. So here we have them. Here they are. So we have not only the objects, but the texture maps. Now, okay, great. So now we have, we obviously have the all these objects, as we mentioned, and all these different maps. So here are the objects, here are the maps. So one thing we need to know is if I look at my texture editor here in the wireframe, we'll see that in each one of these maps, they're pretty confused, right? So they're just, let me zoom in and out, but you'll see that they're just not very laid out very well. So let's fix that. The first thing I'll do is, I know I'm not going to use these, so I'm going to delete each one of these layers. Okay. Then I'm going to go into my UV room, and I'm going to select one layer at a time, and I'm going to say, go under here and say auto map it. Okay, there it is. It's auto mapped, and I will pack the UV. Okay, and then I'll go to the next one. Auto map, pack UV, and I'll go to third one, auto map, pack UV, and the last one, auto map, pack UV. Okay, so now we have all these set. Now let's say I want to combine this cube structure up here with these cylinders. Okay, so I want to put this in the same map as that one and delete that. So we know that that's the cylinders is the wood veneer, and the cube is the wood plywood. So with this selected, I want to go in here and I'm going to use my mark seams with islands, select, manipulate, and I can go down here and I can click on these. So I'm going to click on each one of these seams with the shift key held down, and I'm selecting each one of these islands over here. So I've got all of those. Okay, and I'm going to move those now to the veneer layer, right? So we're in the plywood layer. I'm moving them to the veneer layer. So now if I go to the plywood layer, or I'm sorry, the veneer layer, we'll see that I've got them all there, but they're overlapping. So then I have to go ahead, auto map again, and pack UV. Okay, and now we're good. And now I can basically go into this, delete unused UV sets. So, oh, I need to apply the UV. So let's just say apply UV sets. Yeah. And I can go into here, wood veneer, delete unused UV sets. And now if I go and I look at these, I've only got 3 of them now. And so let's go back to the paint, and Bob's your uncle. So this is that problem we know that we've seen. So let's just, we've talked about this before, some kind of rendering issue. Let's just go ahead and save it as anything, and then open, and we'll open the same one, and you'll see that that fixes that particular problem. So now we have these mapped quite nicely, and I'm going to select all of these. Now this is going to be interesting. So if I'm going to take these and I want to import these, I'm going to export them as an OBJ instead of, and I'm going to import. There you are. And I'm not going to use this high setting. I'm going to basically say this is 20, and this is 5, and that's 0.3. So again, so let's try there, and we'll go back into here and new, don't save, and we'll go ahead and at this point open it up. And now here's an interesting thing I'm going to show you once these loads. Okay, so I think we have, if we go to our texture map, we have all the colors in here. And go my paint objects, we have all the objects in here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Good. So this doesn't look too bad. If I come in and I paint this object, for instance, you'll see that there is some smoothing errors across here. And most importantly, you'll start to see I'm going to change the lighting here a little bit. You can start to see, if I can, you see those facets along the edge there? That's one of the challenges that you have. You might end up with smoothing, some of these smoothing on the top as well. And there's not much that can be done with, because those are actually created by, if we look in, we zoom way in a CAD program in the tessellation. Notice that we have a little tiny sliver there, and that's where we're getting that little sliver. So if we actually go into a program, a modeler, and we tweak these so to get those lined up, that would help. But if we do that, we're going to disrupt some of the other geometry. So sometimes we have to just say what we're going to live with, and that's one that we're probably going to live with. But this on the side, these patterns that we're seeing here, that we can do something about that. Let's talk about how we do that. So now let's export this, and this time we'll export it to SketchUp. So I'm going to go into a SketchUp file, and I'm going to use the exact same settings as we did before. And let's go to SketchUp, and let's import that. Okay, and let's look at it. So I'm not going to bother with the texture maps. I'm just going to export this directly out from here as an OBJ. Really quickly, let's take everything and let's just move this down a bit so we can see what it's going to look like. Okay, now let's open it up here, and we can just import the object. There it is. Only have one map. Boom. Okay, so take that, color it. Now we still have that same surface, that same problem, as you can tell on these sides, which is a function of not having a dense enough mesh on the side. But maybe we're willing to do that because we're getting a lot few errors. But look at the side of this. See the triangulation here? And now I'm going to zoom up on this side, and you'll see how much nicer that is. And that's what SketchUp buys you, is that ability to flatten. It creates a hard seam across the area, but it still doesn't do anything about fixing this. I could probably go in and snap those closed, but once I start doing that, I start disrupting this surface in here, which can create a problem, because if I snap that from here to here, then it's going to either go under it or over that, and I'm going to get a little artifact also. So there's not a whole lot of winning other than going to a much denser type of a mesh. So let me talk about one more thing is on this segment, and that is the surfaces. Actually, yeah, let's do that. So I'm going to go in here, and I'm going to take this object and this object, and I'm going to do what's called a Boolean merge. Okay, and I select all of these, and I'll make them all blue. Okay, so these are separate objects now. If I drag this out, you'll see I've got something inside here. So I've got, actually, let's delete this one. I don't want that one. So I've got this object here and that object there. So I've got those three objects. But what I want to show is I'm going to export this directly as an OBJ. I'm going to use my standard settings here. Go back into here and open it up. Let's see. Okay, so notice, interesting enough, that this time I only got one channel came in. One of the things I found out is that as long as I export with the default material, I'll usually get all three UVs come in. But in this case, I didn't. But that's okay. So because what I want to do is what I really want to do is let's go ahead and paint this, and let's look at it. And what we're going to find in here is that these don't always line up correctly. When they don't, we're going to get seams in here. So if you look at this, you'll see that this vertice right here and this vertice don't line up. And in fact, there's a gap right there. You can see right through there's a gap. And the reason for that is because these surfaces aren't merged. They're not joined together. So that in a higher density mesh, or I should say a lower density mesh, that's going to be a bigger problem. In fact, we can go ahead and show that real quick. Delete that so we can see through if we do. Okay, so now I'm going to take these two and export them. And I'm using a much coarser mesh, and I'm not even going to go in, but you can start to see how those holes just don't even line up, not even close. And that you're going to get that because these are not joined. So let's go back in while I've got this here and command undo and undo, and now I've got that piece in here. So I'm going to take all of those and I'm going to basically Boolean union them. Okay, now I've got this is all one solid. Okay, and now when I export, you're going to see as we zoom in, it's all stitched very nicely as one solid. And okay, so, and while I'm here, I might as well go ahead and open this. Actually, let's open this in 3D Coat. Okay, here it is. And we'll go into UVs, and what I want to do is I'm going to say auto map it. So when I auto map it, you're going to see that I've got some problems here, and what I really want to do is I want to be able to join these two these, make them seamless. And so I want this to be all one UV here. So the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to go over here and I'm going to actually, with the mark seams and the select mode here, I'm going to actually zoom up on this. Whoops. And I'm going to actually hold the control key down and shift. And notice how I'm going to do it down there. I'm going to do it right here too. Okay, and if I can, I'll just go ahead and delete that. That's deleting those seams, right? So I'm going to go ahead and do that there. And I think I may have a few more here. I think there's a green one there, so I can hold the control key down and shift there and there. And so you get the idea. So what I've done now is, and I can go ahead and I can tweak these too if I want to. I can go and, for instance, just click here, here, and here, and then hold the control key down and get rid of that one and that one and that one. So I can tweak that or not. It's not probably all that critical at this point, but this one is going to be quite critical, and I'm going to show you why here in a second. So I'm going to go back to the paint, or I'm going to basically once I've done that, I have to unwrap it again. Okay, and here's that long piece we just generated. And once we've unwrapped it, let's go ahead and pack the UVs one more time. And let's go back to the paint room and say, okay, we're going to save that. Okay, and let's go ahead and paint this guy. And what is our opacity, roughness? 19. Okay, so this is good. So I'm going to go ahead now and save this as a file in our test folder. Okay, and I'll call this tur in my Unity picture. Let's go into Unity. Okay, and here's Unity. And it imported the file, and you can see we've got, let's drag it into here and double click on it, and here we have our object. And we can see that when we click on this, I'm going to tap on the you'll start to see that there's probably some artifacting going on, although it's not too bad. That actually matched fairly well in terms of size. But I typically try and keep that whole thing as one uh, basic UV island. So let's go back and just do that, just so we don't have any trouble with that again. So I'll go back to the UV room. There it is. Okay, and again, I'm going to do the same thing we talked about before, which is I go here, hold the control key down, and just start tapping away, getting rid of these. And that is a different color, by the way, in case you're wondering. Oh, there's one. There's one there, one there. Okay, so. And let's go ahead and get rid of that one. And this one here. That one there. Oops. That's what we'll keep that there. Okay, so now when I say unwrap, so we'll have that unwrapped. That's right there. So back into the paint room and apply our changes. And we're good. So I hope some of this helped. Hope you realize you can see how SketchUp can be your friend in some of this.